Yes, people, how's it going? Welcome back to Lily White Lane. Hope you're doing good, hope you're keeping safe and well, and hope you're having a smashing week. What are we going to be discussing on this morning's show? I'm going to be bringing to you guys your latest and greatest Tottenham Hotspur transfer rumours and reports. And what story we're going to start with today? The big one that broke last night. Massive news coming out last night in that Saudi Arabia want Heung. The news that broke late last night was that Itthad, the current club being managed by ex-Spurs gaffer Nuno Espirito Santo in Saudi Arabia, are looking to bid 60 million for Heung. And what I will say about this deal is don't expect these Saudis to go quietly into the night. Tottenham Hotspur's current stance on this deal is they won't even look at or consider any offers below 100 million. But one thing these Saudis do have is an endless amount of money. And like I say, they won't settle for not getting their own way. These are greedy, rich, billionaire owners who are used to getting their own way their entire lives. So I bet you any money that 60 million bid gets rejected. A few days later or a week later, they put in a 70 million one. You know, a week later than that or a few days later than that, they put in an 80 million one, 90 million, 100 million. It'll get to a point, in my opinion, where if this news is true, the offer will be unrefusable. And we know how much Daniel Levy loves money, genuinely. And it will get to a point, in my opinion, where if this news is true about Itthad looking at Heung, it will get to a point where that offer can buy us 6 or 7 new players. Honestly. Because one thing these Saudis do have is an endless amount of money. And they're here to conquer, man. These Saudis aren't messing about this summer. Look at the players that are going to the Saudi League. Ronaldo, Benzema, Kante. Now we're hearing potentially Ruben Neves. We're hearing potentially Mendy. Like I say, these Saudis won't stop until they get what they want because they are greedy, rich, billionaire owners. And in my opinion, the only way Heung does not move to Saudi Arabia is if Tottenham Hotspur openly come out and say he is not for sale. That exact statement, Heung is not for sale. Because as long as he's possibly on the market, these Saudis will not stop until they get what they want. And that's why I'm worried about this deal. We've seen the amount of players that have been persuaded by the money there. And that's the thing, you know, when this Saudi league first started becoming popular because Ronaldo went there, we sort of viewed it as, oh, it's just going to be another MLS league, a place where a lot of top players and people go to retire and spend their last few days for a final payday. These Saudis aren't going to settle for no retirement league. We're hearing now Ruben Neves. I think Neves is something like, what, 27, 28? Pretty much in the prime of his career. Heung, I believe he's 29. You know, they're no longer going for these 35, 36-year-olds. They're going for players in the prime of their career. And a lot of these players are being persuaded due to the money they're being offered. And purely that. The wages these Saudi Arabian clubs are offering players, they're ridiculous. 200 million, I believe, a year or something stupid like that for Ronaldo. It's an insane amount of money. It's an incredible amount of money. And no matter how good your morals are, most people will be persuaded by that. I know Heung loves Tottenham Hotspur, there's no doubt about it. He's someone who for his whole time at Spurs has shown so much passion. He brings us so much support from Korea. And of course I want to hold on to him. Yes, he didn't have the greatest season last season, but he's a world-class player. And I want to hold on to him. And I believe Heung would prefer to stay at Tottenham Hotspur. But may it get to a point where that offer can't be refused? I think it may. I think it may, unless we, you know, quite literally come out and make a statement saying Heung is not for sale. Because as long as you know, as I say, as long as there's a possibility that Heung could be sold, these Saudis will not stop until they get him. They will not stop until they get him. And people laughed. People laughed when Ronaldo came out a few weeks ago. And obviously he was paid to say this, but when Ronaldo came out a few weeks ago and said, in a few years this Saudi league could be in the top 5 in the world, people laughed at that. They're not laughing now. Partey as well, that's another one I forgot to mention that could be going to Saudi Arabia. Benzema, Ronaldo, all these massive names going to Saudi Arabia, and they're only going to strengthen. The big names going this summer, they'll get more big names next January, more big names next summer, and quite literally in a few years they could be in the top 5 leagues in the world. Obviously it's all plastic because they don't have proper support over there and proper football culture, and it feels a little bit wrong, but there is no reason why these Saudis can't take over football. The only reason why they can't take over football is if they don't want to. Because they have the money. They have an absolutely endless and ridiculous amount of money to bring players in, to let players go, and to develop, you know, their league. And that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. And not only are they conquering their own league and getting players to their own league, they're conquering other leagues as well. You know, coming to the Premier League, taking over Newcastle United, they're going to get better and better. And could it be something whereas, you know, and I'm not questioning this because we know how corrupt these countries can be at sometimes, and we know how corrupt Saudi Arabia has been at times, but could it get to a point where Newcastle United becomes so good, but because they've got connections to Saudi, they start selling all their players over there? Could that be part of the secret plan? I don't know. I don't know, but look, like I say, the only reasons why these Saudis can't conquer football is if they don't want to, or if they don't feel like it. Because these lot have an endless amount of money, and it seems like football's their new toy. It seems like football's their new toy. These childish billionaire owners, this is their new toy that they want to play about with a little bit. And they can. That's the most scary and dangerous thing. They can. And look, the amount of players who are going to go this summer. We're only like 2-3 weeks into the summer window, and already about 7 or 8 top players look like they're going to Saudi Arabia. We've got a couple months left of this. What other players are going to be going to Saudi Arabia? Like I say, some we've been discussing today. It's dangerous. It really is dangerous. But look, I want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Do you think Heung-min Son could be probed away from Spurs due to the ridiculous amount of money he would be offered at Saudi Arabia, and a ridiculous amount of money Daniel Levy would be offered to let him go? Or do you believe Daniel Levy will say no to selling Heung-min Son, make a statement saying that Heung-min Son is not for sale, and that Heung-min Son does stay at Tottenham Hotspur? What do you want to happen if the Saudis do put in a ridiculous amount of money? Would you accept it? Because that's something I would honestly consider. I love Heung-min Son, I do. The guy's a world-class player, and people will tell you he's not. He is. Golden Boot winner a couple of seasons ago, and this season's been an off one for him. He still scored, what, 8-9 goals, got a fair few assists. And obviously, now we know the reason this season hasn't went to plan for him was because he's been carrying around an injury all season. He just didn't want to tell it. You know, like old people when they're ill, they don't want to tell you when they're in pain. That's like Heung-min Son. He's an absolute warrior and he's too humble. But if an offer comes in of a ridiculous amount, let's say, okay, 120 million, 130 million, you've got to consider that, in my opinion. You have to consider that, because as good as Heung-min Son is, that's you know, with that amount of money, you could be looking to bring in 3 world-class players, or 2 world-class players and 3 top players, players that can completely transform this football team. So look, do I think Daniel Levy might consider it? Yes, I do. One, because of how much he likes money, but the one thing I'd be concerned about was if he sold Heung-min Son for a ridiculous amount, how much of the money would actually go back into the football club, knowing Daniel Levy. But look, a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. I want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. What are your thoughts and opinions on Heung-min Son to Al Itthad? Will Nuno get the last laugh on Spurs after we sacked him, and a few years later he takes away one of our best players? I want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Take care of yourselves. Have a smashing day and week. And as always, come on you Spurs. In Big Ange we trust. And Enoch and Levy out.